The royal throne room of Empress Valorian was nothing like the human delegations had expected. The walls were made of crystal that glowed from within, casting light in colors that had no names in human languages. The floor was smooth and cold, reflecting the light from 3 enormous moons that hung in the sky beyond the arched windows. Guards stood at attention along the walls, their crystalline bodies perfectly still, waiting for commands that might never come. Kate Mitchell entered the chamber with her team. She was 32 years old, with dark brown hair pulled back tight, and her face showed the marks of someone who had worked hard her entire life. Her uniform carried the insignia of Earth's Galactic Relations Committee. Around her neck hung a translation device, a piece of technology that let humans speak with other species without learning their languages. The Empress sat on a throne that rose 3 stories high. Her body was made of clear crystal that caught and bent light in strange ways. She had 3 eyes instead of 2, and her face was angular and sharp. When she moved, her body made soft clicking sounds like wind chimes in a breeze. Beside her stood advisors in robes of silver thread, and behind them stood guards with weapons that looked like they could cut through steel. Kate stepped forward and bowed slightly. The Xalian way was different from human custom, but the meaning was the same: respect, submission to authority, a recognition that you understood your place. The Empress rose to her feet. Her movement was smooth and careful, like water flowing uphill. When she spoke, her voice was high and sharp, and the translation device rendered her words in Kate's ear. "Welcome, human delegation. I am Empress Valorian of Xalia Prime. You have traveled far across the stars to meet with me. You want something from my people. You want access to the Vex system colonies. You want technology. You want trade agreements that will benefit your species for many years." Kate nodded. This was why they had come. Earth's population was growing. The solar system alone could no longer support them. Humanity needed to expand, to move outward into the galaxy and claim worlds where humans could build new cities and new civilizations. The Vex system had 3 habitable planets. All 3 were controlled by the Xalians. All 3 would be perfect for human settlement. "You speak the truth, Empress," Kate said. Her voice was steady. She was not afraid of political negotiations. She had done this before with other species. The Velans, the Korish, the Thren. Each time, humans had come out ahead because Kate knew how to listen. She knew how to understand what others really wanted, not just what they said they wanted. The Empress smiled. Her smile showed teeth that were pointed and sharp. "I have a proposition for you, Kate Mitchell. It is an offer that will give your people everything you want. The 3 colonies in the Vex system will belong to Earth. You will have complete authority over them. You will have access to Xalian technology that we have hidden from human knowledge for 20 years. You will have resources, materials, and knowledge that will propel your species forward 1,000 years. The human delegation looked at each other in shock. This was beyond what they had hoped for. This was beyond anything they had expected. Kate felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. "Empress, this is an unexpected generosity. What would you require in exchange for such gifts?" Kate asked. The Empress stood and descended from her throne. Her crystal body caught the light and sent it in all directions, filling the chamber with colors like a rainbow. As she walked toward Kate, the guards tensed. The Xalian advisors moved their eyes back and forth. Something was about to happen. Something important. When the Empress was close enough that Kate could see her reflection in her crystal body, Valorian spoke again. "Come with me. I need to show you something. I need you to understand what I am asking before you can make a true choice." Kate followed. Her team started to follow as well, but the Empress raised one hand and they stopped immediately. Only Kate was allowed to move forward. Only Kate was allowed to see what came next. The Empress led her through corridors that seemed to go down into the earth. The walls here were different, made of stone instead of crystal, and they were very old. Markings covered them, symbols from languages that humans had never seen. The light grew dimmer as they descended, and the air grew colder and heavier. Finally, they reached a chamber that was different from everything else in the palace. It was huge, with a ceiling so high that Kate could barely see it. And in the center of this chamber, chained with restraints made of metal that glowed with an eerie blue light, was a creature that defied description. The creature stood on 4 legs, but it had other limbs as well, flexible and long. Its body was covered in fur that was not fur at all, but something alive and moving on its own, like shadow made flesh. The color was so dark that it seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Kate could barely see its shape, as if the creature itself was trying to hide from the world, but its eyes were impossible to miss. They glowed with intelligence and power, and they fixed on Kate immediately. The creature's eyes were green and gold, and they burned like 2 small suns. "This is a Vareth," the Empress said. Her voice now carried something that Kate had not heard before. Fear. The Empress was afraid. "For 300 years, my people have tried to control this creature. We have brought the greatest trainers in all the galaxy. We have used science and technology. We have tried kindness, and we have tried cruelty. Nothing works." As the Empress spoke, the Vareth moved. It pulled against the restraints, and the chains glowed brighter. The creature made a sound like thunder mixed with the cry of an animal being burned alive. Dust fell from the ceiling. The stone floor cracked under its feet. Then the Empress raised her hand, and the Vareth stopped moving. The chains glowed brighter, and the creature fell to the ground, defeated and exhausted. 7 trainers sent to this creature, Valorian continued. 1 returned to us. The others died. Not quickly. The Vareth is intelligent enough to make death last a long time. Kate stared at the creature. In all her years working with other species, she had never seen anything so powerful. She could feel the strength radiating from the beast like heat from a furnace. "Why are you showing me this?" Kate asked. The Empress turned to face her directly. All 3 eyes were open and focused. "Because I am going to offer you a true choice. Take it, and my people will give you everything. The colonies, the technology, the resources. All you must do is one thing. You must tame this creature. You must make it accept your touch. You must make it obey you." The Empress paused. "You have 3 days. Kate did not sleep that night. She sat in the observation chamber above the Vareth's containment, watching the creature below through reinforced, transparent material. The beast moved in circles, its shadow-black fur rippling with each step. The restraint chains hung loose now, attached to the creature but no longer active. The Empress had said Kate could have full access to the chamber. The Empress had wanted her to see the creature up close, to understand exactly what she was being asked to do. Next to Kate sat Dr. Alan Foster. He was the expedition's chief biologist, a man in his late 40s with gray starting to show in his hair. He and Kate had worked together for 7 years on various diplomatic missions. He knew her well enough to understand when she was afraid, even when her face showed nothing. Alan held a tablet computer in his hands. The screen displayed information about the Vareth. The Xalians had given humans complete access to their research files on the creature. 300 years of data. 7 dead trainers. 40 failed conditioning programs. 112 different approaches to making the beast obedient. All of them failed, Alan said quietly. He did not look up from the tablet. Every single one. The creature resisted each approach with violence. Kate did not respond. She watched the Vareth move. The creature was beautiful in a way that power always is. Its movements were perfect. Its muscles worked in complete harmony with each other. It was the kind of predator that nature designs only when it intends something to be nearly unstoppable. The Xalians used positive reinforcement, Alan continued. They gave the creature food when it obeyed. It killed the trainers. They tried negative reinforcement, pain, isolation, that made it more violent. They even tried to breed Veriths together, thinking a mate would make it docile. The two creatures tore the chamber apart, killed each other. What about sedation? Kate asked. They tried that too. The creature's biology is strange. Very strange. The sedatives either have no effect, or they make the Verith sick, which makes it angrier. After that approach killed two trainers, the Empress ordered it stopped. Kate leaned forward. Below, the Verith had stopped moving. It lay on the stone floor, its massive body coiled into a shape almost like a cat on a porch. Its eyes were still open though, still moving, still watching. What about its psychology? Kate asked. Not its body, its mind. What do we know about how it thinks? Alan scrolled through files. That is the problem. The Xalians documented resistance and failure. They documented violent reactions and escape attempts. But they did not document anything else. They never observed the creature for the sake of observation. They were always trying to make it do something. Control it. Train it. They never tried to understand what it wanted. Kate nodded. This was what she had suspected. She had worked with many alien species. Each one had a different way of thinking, a different way of approaching problems. But humans and animals on Earth had taught her one clear lesson. Every living thing that thought had needs beyond food and shelter. Every intelligent creature needed to feel valued. Every conscious being needed to know that others recognized its consciousness. The Xalians were brilliant. Their technology was advanced beyond human comprehension. Their understanding of physics and chemistry had no equal. But they were cold. Their crystal bodies made them feel separate from other life. Their hive-like social structures meant they thought in terms of hierarchy and control. They did not understand connection. They did not understand the messy, complicated process of genuine relationship. I need to talk to the Empress, Kate said. She stood and walked out of the observation chamber. The palace was quiet at this late hour. Guards in crystal armor stood at their posts, unmoving, unconcerned with the human woman walking past them. Kate made her way through hallways and upstairs until she reached the chamber where the Empress rested. Malorian was awake. Kate had suspected she would be. The Empress stood at a window, watching the three moons move across the sky. When Kate entered, all three of the Empress's eyes turned toward her. I have made my decision, Kate said. I will do what you ask. I will work with the Verith. The Empress turned fully to face her. You understand the danger? I understand that every creature wants the same things, Kate said. Safety, recognition, connection. Your trainers failed because they approached the Verith as an enemy to be defeated. I will approach it as a being to be understood. The Empress made a clicking sound. It might have been amusement. It might have been doubt. Very well, human. You may have your 3 days. But I must insist on one condition. What condition? When you enter the chamber with the Verith, you must be unprotected. No weapons. No armor. No environmental suit. Nothing between you and the creature but your own body and mind. If we protect you with technology, you are relying on technology, not on understanding. And the Verith will sense that. It will know that you do not truly trust it. Kate felt her heart rate increase. This was a real risk. This was actual danger, not theoretical danger. But she understood why the Empress had made this demand. If Kate went in with defenses, the Verith would see those defenses as an insult, as a denial of the creature's intelligence and capability. I agree, Kate said. She left the Empress's chamber and returned to the observation room. Alan was still there, still watching the Verith. "You are going to enter the chamber," he said. It was not a question. "Tomorrow morning," Kate replied. "Alone?" Alan closed his tablet. "You are either the bravest person I have ever known, or the most reckless. I have not yet decided which." "Maybe both," Kate said. She sat down again and continued to watch the creature below. The Verith had fallen asleep. Even in sleep, it was magnificent. Even at rest, it radiated power and intelligence. Kate tried to understand what this creature had experienced in its 300 years of captivity. Endless attempts to control it. Endless pain and failure and betrayal. And through it all, the creature had remained intelligent enough to resist. Strong enough to survive. Kate wondered if perhaps the Verith had been waiting all along for something different. Waiting for someone who would come without weapons and without chains. Waiting for someone to simply see it as what it truly was. A conscious being worthy of respect. Tomorrow, she would find out if her understanding was correct. Tomorrow, she would enter the chamber. Tomorrow, she would face the predator and try to reach something human inside the monster. Or die trying. The chamber door was heavy. The sound it made when it opened was like thunder rolling through a cave. Kate Mitchell stepped inside, and the door sealed behind her with a finality that made her stomach drop. She was alone now, completely alone with the creature that had killed 7 trained warriors. The chamber was exactly as she had seen it from above, but being inside, it made everything feel larger and more terrible. The ceiling stretched up so far that shadows covered the upper half. The floor was carved stone, scarred and broken from decades of the Verith's rage. The air was cool and tasted of something metallic and strange. The Verith lay in the center of the chamber, still asleep. Kate could see its chest rising and falling with each breath. The creature was even larger in person than it had seemed from a distance. 12 feet tall at the shoulder, maybe longer. Kate was a grown woman in good physical condition. The Verith could have picked her up in one of its limbs and crushed her without effort. Kate began to walk. She did not walk directly toward the creature. That would be a direct approach, and a direct approach would read as a threat. Instead, she walked in a wide circle, moving slowly, deliberately. Her hands were at her sides, open and empty. Her face was calm, though her heart was beating so hard, she could hear it in her ears. The Verith's eyes opened. Kate felt every muscle in her body tighten. The creature's eyes were golden green, burning like coals from a fire. They fixed on her immediately and did not look away. Kate continued walking, moving in her circle, pretending to ignore the gaze, even though she could feel it like a physical pressure on her skin. When she had moved roughly a quarter of the way around the creature, she stopped. She sat down on the cold stone floor, crossing her legs beneath her. She was now in the Verith's line of sight, clearly visible, completely vulnerable. If the creature wanted to attack, it could cover the distance between them in seconds. Kate took a breath. "Hello," she said. Her voice sounded small in the vast chamber. "My name is Kate." The Verith made a sound. It was not a roar, and it was not a purr. It was something in between, something that had no name in human language. The sound rumbled through the stone beneath Kate's body. Dust fell from the ceiling. Kate did not move. She did not flinch. She simply sat and breathed and waited. The Verith slowly uncurled its body. The movement was smooth, careful, deliberate. The creature was moving exactly the way Kate was. Moving, slow, thoughtful. If the Verith was trying to communicate through its movements that it meant no immediate harm, one of the creature's forward limbs extended toward Kate. The limb was massive, covered in that dark fur that seemed to absorb light. The limbs ended in claws, each one the length of Kate's forearm, sharp enough to cut through steel. But as the limb extended, the claws retracted. They pulled back into the flesh, revealing softer tissue underneath. Sensitive tissue. Vulnerable tissue. Kate did not move. She knew that the smallest twitch, the smallest sign of fear, could change everything. The Verith was offering peace, but that peace was fragile. It could break in an instant. The creature's limb touched Kate's shoulder. The contact was light, barely perceptible, but Kate felt it like an electric shock through her entire body. She felt tears form in her eyes. She understood in that moment what the Zalians had never grasped. This creature was not a weapon. It was not a problem to be solved. It was intelligent. It was capable of understanding subtlety and nuance. And it was profoundly lonely. For 300 years, the Verith had been locked in containment. For 300 years, it had been approached by creatures who wanted to control it, break it, remake it into something other than what it was. No one had ever simply looked at the creature and asked what it needed. No one had ever approached with genuine interest in the Verith as a being. Kate reached out slowly and placed her hand on the creature's limb. The fur was soft, almost silky, and warm with blood and life. The Verith made that rumbling purr sound again, deeper this time, vibrating through the ground. "You are not alone anymore," Kate whispered. The creature settled onto the floor beside her. Its massive body created a wall of shadow black fur, and Kate leaned against it. The fur was warm. It smelled strange, metallic, and green, nothing like any smell on Earth. But it was not a bad smell. It was just different. It was just the other. Kate and the Verith sat together in that chamber as the hours passed. Kate spoke in low, gentle tones. She did not use commands. She did not try to train or condition or control. She simply talked, the way she would talk to another human, sharing her presence and her thoughts. "My name is Kate," she said. "I come from a planet called Earth. It is far away, across the stars. On my world, there are creatures we keep as companions. Dogs and cats and horses. We do not try to control them or remake them. We simply live alongside them. We share space and care. I think you might be like that. I think you might want a companion too." The Verith turned its head to look at her. Its eyes were less fierce now, less burning. They were just eyes, brilliant and intelligent and sad. "I am going to stay here with you," Kate continued. "Every day for 3 days. I am going to sit with you like this. And you can do whatever you want. You can ignore me. You can leave. You can attack. That is your choice. But I will be here." The creature made a new sound, something like a question. "I understand," Kate said, though she did not actually understand the creature's language. "I understand that you have been hurt. I understand that others have tried to control you. I understand that trust is not easy for you. But I am here anyway." For hours, Kate spoke softly to the creature. She told it about Earth. She told it about animals that humans had learned to live alongside. She told it about the dogs of ancient times, bred from wolves through nothing but patience and genuine care. She told it that there was another way besides control and violence. The Verith listened. Its breathing slowed and deepened. Eventually, it rested its massive head on the ground, and Kate leaned against its side, listening to the great heart beating inside its chest. By the time the Zillion guards came to retrieve her, Kate had not left the creature's side for 8 hours. And the Verith, the creature that had killed 7 trainers and rejected 300 years of control attempts, had fallen asleep with its head resting gently against the human woman's body. By the second day, the relationship between Kate and the Verith had changed everything. The creature, which Kate now called Kale, followed her through the chamber with the devotion of a trained dog and the intelligence of someone who could actually understand what was happening around them. The guards and scientists watching from above had stopped their discussions. They simply watched in silence, seeing something that contradicted everything they understood about the V-Wrath. Kate discovered that Kale could communicate, not with words. The creature's vocal cords were not built for human speech, but Kale had developed a complex system of sounds and postures that conveyed meaning. There were sharp clicks for yes and no. There were rolling rumbles for contentment and satisfaction. There were high-pitched sounds that seemed to express curiosity or concern. More than that, Kale could use these sounds to express things that were complicated. When Kate had sat crying on the evening of the first day, remembering a loss from her own past, Kale had noticed immediately. The creature had recognized that Kate was in pain. Without instruction or training, Kale had moved to Kate's side and remained there, pressing its warm body against her, making low, gentle sounds that seemed designed to comfort. The Zalians had never done anything like that. The Zalians had never sat with the Verth during its pain. They had only tried to force the pain away or suppress it with technology. On the morning of the second day, Kate was teaching Kale to bring her objects, not as a command or a trick. Kate was simply showing Kale that cooperation was possible. She would pick up a piece of stone, show it to Kale, and place it down. Then she would wait. Eventually, Kale would pick up the stone with one of its limbs and bring it back to Kate. The creature was not doing this because Kate had trained it. Kale was doing this because Kale understood that Kate wanted it, and Kale wanted to help Kate. "This is remarkable," Alan said. He was watching through the observation window, his tablet covered in notes. "The creature is learning your communication patterns. It is observing your behavior and modeling its own behavior based on what it sees. It is engaging in true cooperative behavior." "Kale is not an it," Kate said. She was sitting with her back against Kale's body, and the creature was making those gentle rumbling sounds. "Kale is a he. I know that somehow. I can feel it." Alan did not argue. He had learned long ago that Kate understood things about alien psychology that no amount of data could teach. She had an instinct for it, a way of sensing what other beings needed. By the afternoon of the second day, Kate noticed something else. Kale was not just responding to Kate. Kale was teaching Kate. The creature would make a series of sounds, and then wait for Kate's response. When Kate did not respond correctly, Kale would repeat the sounds with slight variations. Eventually, Kate began to understand that Kale was trying to teach her the creature's language. Not perfectly. Kate would never be able to make all of Kale's sounds. Her human throat was not designed for the frequency or complexity of the noises. But Kate could learn to understand them. She could recognize patterns and meaning. Late in the evening of the second day, Kate understood one of Kale's sounds perfectly. It was a long, rolling rumble followed by a sharp click. Kale had made this sound countless times, and Kate had watched the creature's body language each time. The sound meant something like hope or anticipation. It was a sound about the future, about the possibility that things could be different. Kate made the sound back to Kale as best she could. It was rough and imperfect, nothing like Kale's version. But the creature understood what she was trying to do. Kale made the sound again, this time softer, waiting for Kate to repeat it. They went back and forth, a human and an alien creature, speaking the same language, understanding each other across a biological gulf that should have made such understanding impossible. The Empress requested a private meeting on the morning of the third day. Kate left Kale in the chamber, which caused the creature to make some distressed sounds, but Kate promised she would return soon. She had learned enough of Kale's language now to communicate her intentions clearly. When Kate entered the Empress's private chamber, Valorian was waiting. The crystal form of the Zalian ruler caught light from the windows and reflected it in prismatic patterns. "You are aware," Valorian said, "that what you have accomplished in 30 hours exceeds what my people accomplished in 300 years. The data from your observation chamber shows that Kale is not resisting you. The creature is engaging with you willingly. The creature is learning human behavior and teaching you Verith behavior. This should not be possible. Kate stood calmly. It was always possible, Empress. You just did not try it the right way. Explain, Valorian commanded. Your people approached the Verith as a problem to be solved through force and control, Kate said plainly. You approached it as an enemy, an obstacle, something that existed to be conquered. The Verith is intelligent. It understood your intentions. It resisted because any conscious being resists when another conscious being tries to dominate it. The Empress did not respond. All three of her eyes were focused entirely on Kate. I approached Kale differently, Kate continued. I approached without weapons, without armor, without defenses. I approached with respect. I treated Kale as a being worthy of consideration, worthy of understanding. I did not try to change Kale. I tried to understand Kale. And the moment I did that, the moment I showed genuine recognition of Kale's consciousness and capability, the creature responded. Not through fear, not through pain, but through choice. The Empress moved to a window and gazed out at the crystalline towers of her city. I wonder what else my people have failed to understand. What other potential lies dormant because we refuse to approach it with anything but conquest in mind? That, Kate said, might be humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not our physical strength, not our adaptability or our intelligence, but our capacity to see consciousness in things other species have labeled as monsters. Our ability to extend genuine understanding across species boundaries. We do not need to control what we cannot control. We can simply accept it, work with it, live alongside it. The Empress turned back to face Kate. You will remain on Zalia Prime for 6 months after this challenge ends. You will help my people learn this approach. You will teach us how humans see consciousness, where we see only resistance. You will help my people understand what we have lost by always pursuing domination. Kate nodded. I will teach you what I can, Empress. But some of this cannot be taught. Some of it must be learned through direct experience. The way I learned it. By sitting with someone you do not understand. By listening. By being willing to change your own mind. When Kate returned to the chamber, Kale rushed to meet her, making those hopeful, anticipatory sounds. Kate placed her hands on the creature's massive head and felt the intelligent mind behind those burning gold and green eyes. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. Kale made a sound of pure joy. On the morning of the third day, the Empress made her announcement from the throne room. The news spread through the palace like light through crystal. All 3 Zalian broadcasts reported the decision. Human stations across the galaxy received the message. The galaxy itself, it seemed, held its breath. The colonies in the Vex system would belong to humanity. All 3 of them. Earth would have complete autonomy over those worlds. The Zalians would provide technology and scientific support, but the humans would control their own destiny in that system. Additionally, Earth would have access to Zalian research that had previously been kept secret. Medical technology that could extend human lifespans. Power generation systems that operated at nearly perfect efficiency. Material science that could change how human civilization built its cities and ships. But there was a condition that had been added at the last moment. The Empress had insisted that Kate Mitchell remain on Zalia Prime for 6 months. During those 6 months, Kate would help establish a new research initiative. Humans and Zalians working together to understand how cross-species relationships could function. How consciousness in different forms could recognize each other and work together. How control and domination could be replaced with genuine partnership. The Varth named Kale would not be imprisoned anymore. The creature would be transported to a sanctuary world in the outer reaches of the Zalian territory. The planet was called Verdes Prime, and it had vast forests and open grasslands. It had rivers and mountains and caves to explore. It had an atmosphere that Vareth could breathe, and a climate that would sustain the species. Kale would be monitored only from a distance to ensure the creature's health and safety. But Kale would be free. On the evening before Kale's transport, Kate stood in the chamber where she had first sat with the creature. The chamber felt smaller now, or perhaps Kate just understood it better. The scars on the floor from years of violence seemed like marks of history rather than current danger. The restraint chains hung useless in the corners, relics of a time when force and control had been the only approaches anyone could imagine. Kale rested on the stone floor, head tilted toward the window where the three moons were rising. The creature was calm now. Kate could read that calm in every fiber of Kale's being. The intelligence that burned behind those gold and green eyes was not the intelligence of a predator planning violence. It was the intelligence of a being at peace. "Tomorrow you will go to your new world," Kate said. She was sitting beside Kale as she had since that first day. Her hand rested on the creature's body, feeling the warmth beneath that soft, dark fur. "You will have space to run and explore. You will have other Earths eventually, I think. You will have a future that is not measured in restraints and pain." Kale made a sound. It was a complex sound, a combination of the rolling rumbles and sharp clicks that Kate had come to understand. The sound contained sadness and gratitude and something else that did not have a simple human word. It was the sound of goodbye mixed with the sound of hope. "I will visit," Kate promised. "Not immediately. They need me here to teach your people how to think differently. But I will come. I will show you what I have built, and you will show me what you have become." Kale lifted one massive limb and gently placed it across Kate's shoulders. The creature made the sound of pure joy that Kate had heard on the second day, the sound that meant happiness and contentment and connection. They sat together through the night. Kate talked about Earth. She talked about the animals that humans had formed bonds with, species after species, proving that consciousness could recognize consciousness across almost any biological boundary. She talked about horses that had carried soldiers into battle and horses that had pulled plows for farmers. She talked about dogs that had herded sheep and dogs that had guarded homes and dogs that had simply loved their humans without asking anything in return, except companionship. "That is what we do," Kate said. "That is what makes humans valuable. Not our strength, though we have that. Not our intelligence, though we have that too. We are valuable because we can see consciousness in other beings, and we can choose to work with that consciousness rather than against it. We can make allies from creatures that others see only as monsters." By morning, Kate was exhausted but peaceful. Kale had fallen asleep with its massive head resting on the ground near Kate's body. The creature's breathing was slow and deep, the breathing of something at absolute rest. When the transport ship arrived, Kale stood calmly. The creature did not resist. The creature had learned through its time with Kate that the future could hold something other than pain and confinement. Kale walked onto the ship voluntarily, pausing only once to look back at Kate. Kate raised one hand in farewell. Kale made a final sound, the sound of goodbye and gratitude mixed together. The ship rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. Over the next 6 months, Kate stayed on Zalia Prime. She worked with Zalian scientists and philosophers. She explained concepts that the crystalline species had never needed to develop: empathy, compassion, the understanding that consciousness in different forms was still consciousness. That intelligence did not require crystalline structure or hive mind efficiency. That meaning could be found in connection rather than in control. Some Zalians understood immediately. Others took time. A few never understood it all. But the seed had been planted. The Empress herself had been changed by what she had witnessed. The ruler of the alien people had seen that her greatest failure had been the inability to recognize consciousness that functioned differently from her own. When Kate finally returned to Earth, she brought with her Xalian technology and Xalian friendship. The 3 colonies in the Vex system became human strongholds, places where humans could build and grow and expand. And more importantly, the precedent had been set. Humans were not conquerors seeking domination. Humans were beings who could see consciousness across any boundary and choose partnership. Throughout the galaxy, the story spread. The human woman who had tamed the Varath, the predator that no one could control until someone stopped trying to control it, until someone simply sat and listened and recognized another being as worthy of respect. For the next 1,000 years, as humans spread through the galaxy and encountered species after species, they carried this approach with them. Not always successful, not always safe, but always based on the understanding that Kate had learned from Kale. That consciousness, in whatever form it took, deserved recognition. That genuine partnership was more powerful than any force or control. That the real strength of humanity lay not in weapons or technology, but in the capacity to see others truly, and to be willing to change their own minds based on that seeing. When historians would later ask what had given humanity such influence among the stars, they would point to many things. The strength of human adaptability, the resilience of human determination, the ingenuity of human problem-solving. But those who had been there, those who had watched Kate walk the corridors of Korth with a terrifying predator at her side, knowing that the creature followed her not because of control, but because of genuine choice, would smile and say something else. They would say that humanity's true power was this: we can look at what terrifies us and choose to understand it instead of destroy it. We can recognize consciousness even in its most alien forms. And in that recognition, we can make allies that no force or control could ever create. That was the real victory. That was what changed everything.